weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few things that we're going to be talking to you about today. The Climate Prediction Center came out with their latest maps, so we're going to be going over those, as well as a few other ensembles and modeling, as well as the conditions that we are seeing out in the Atlantic, because we are looking at a very busy September ahead after Labor Day weekend, and especially in the second week of September and moving on. So we're going to be talking about that today, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into it right here. So starting off, we do have Tropical Storm Fernand right here. It did strengthen up to 50 miles per hour earlier this morning around 11:50 Atlantic Standard Time. Very recent satellite-derived wind data indicate that Fernand has strengthened slightly and maximum sustained winds are now up to 50 miles per hour. At this current point, pressure of 1,006 millibars, moving east at 12 miles per hour. This will probably be the last time we talk about this, though, primarily because where it's at right now, it's expected to, okay, I didn't mean to show the experimental cone, but primarily because it's going to be out to sea. Yeah, the Azores could definitely be in the vicinity of this, but by and large, it's going to be extratropical, and it's going to dissipate in the next couple of days. So this will probably be the last time we talk about Fernand, and then move on to other topics for you, ladies and gentlemen. But ultimately, with Fernand out here, there won't be much going on for a little bit, maybe for the next few days. However, down the road, we are seeing some very interesting things starting to potentially organize and develop. We do have that wave train that's continuing to come off of Africa right now. We are going to be seeing a potentially more active MJO and a more favorable MJO in the coming days. We're also going to be watching what's going to be happening with the Central American gyre, especially after mid-September, because that is going to expected to be ramping up very shortly. We're going to go ahead and talk about all of those today, but let's go ahead and get started with the CPC. Here is the Climate Prediction Center, the Global Tropics Hazard Outlook, kind of isolated for the Atlantic. This is what they issued yesterday. We finally have data for it today. Here's what we have for next week. This is after Labor Day weekend for you guys right here from September 3rd to September 9th. Mainly a 20% probability of development happening in parts of the main development region right here. Part of it is because, they think there's going to be something happening there. Part of it also, though, is because, it's just September, it's tropic season, and that's when the peak of it is. But around the second week of September, from the 10th to the 16th, is when things really start to get interesting right here, because now they're putting in over 40% probability of development happening in parts of the central main development region, and that's potentially putting the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and even Hispaniola and a few other areas in the line of fire as well with that probability right here. And remember, what we had with Hurricane Aaron was a 40% probability risk over there, so you're going to want to pay attention to that as well. And that wave train that we're going to continue seeing down the road will help contribute to this. And once one of those tropical waves comes off the coast of Africa, give it a little bit of moisture and some decent instability, and boom, it could definitely go off at any time throughout this entire red circle right there. That's one area to watch for. Another area to watch for is the Central American gyre. We're looking at potentially something firing off the coast of Honduras and areas around the Yucatan and even in the southern half of the Gulf region right there. So that's also something you're absolutely going to want to watch, especially because of the proximity to land and how many people could be in the line of fire for that. So those two areas are definitely something you're going to want to watch. The Eastern Pacific is going to be calming down as well, which will help contribute to some Western Atlantic activity as well, and we'll have to continue to pay attention to that here on the Pat's Path Predictor channel. But going ahead and showing you some satellite imagery right here, we're going to go ahead and start generally in the Eastern Atlantic and then work our way west. You have another tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa at this current point in time. You do have another tropical wave along the intertropical convergence zone over here further to the west, around 40 degrees west over here as well. This wave train is going to continue. The Sahel monsoon has really ramped up over the last few weeks, as we've seen in regards to what happened with Hurricane Aaron, and even in late July, we start seeing that ramp up, and that's going to continue to happen through September and in parts of October as well, as the Sahel continues to really show its monsoon season, and more of these waves come off the coast of Africa. We're going to want to be very cognizant and watch this very closely, because as more of these waves do come off, you're going to see more and more moisture move into the Atlantic, and that's when we're going to start seeing this stuff ramp up again, and we'll have to keep you updated on that as well. Weather Center Nazario is also watching it as well. David Schlotthauer is also watching it as well. A lot of us are on high alert, especially in the next couple of weeks, especially for those in the Lesser Antilles and in the western part of the Caribbean and Gulf region, because of the potential threat these systems do pose for you guys right there. Now moving on to parts of the Western Atlantic. And as you can see right here, we're looking at more convection starting to fire off in parts of the Central America right here. We're definitely seeing some interesting stuff happen right there. This is one of the telltale signs you're definitely going to want to watch for when the Central American gyre starts to kick in right here. There's really not that much going on right now, but I'm just kind of giving you a quick detour over here just to give you a general gist of what we're potentially going to be wanting to look for in the next few days or so. So by and large, you do have convection starting to blow up right here off Honduras and Nicaragua over here, and in parts of the Gulf as well. That's mainly though mesoscale convection, so I'm not particularly too concerned about that. But ultimately, this is something you're going to want to watch, like I've said time and time again. And we're going to want to watch this, especially as the Central American gyre is expected to ramp up starting around mid-September. This is just something to show you, to go, okay, we're watching these areas right here, and now we can go ahead and show you how exactly those might start to ramp up. And we'll go ahead and start by showing you some of the ensemble runs I've been looking at and some of the operational runs. But I will say I have been taking a look at. They've been kind of varying quite a bit, so please do keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and show you the ensembles and then go to the operational run. So here we go. This is what we have for our ensemble run. Europeans definitely picking up on a signal in the next 10 days or so. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and also show you the 12C as well, because they were also picking up a considerably strong signal in this region as well. And I'll go ahead and move this over for you guys right here and zoom in for at least parts of the tropics right here, just to give you a general idea as to what's going on. We're going to go ahead and zoom in on this so it gives you a better viewing experience. But now we can go ahead and start with what's been going on at 12C, and we'll go ahead and start about 5 days out. 5 days out, you start noticing some ensembles starting to pick up something either just in line or to the south of the Cabo Verde Islands right there. And then moving on to 6 days out right here, definitely starting to notice a few more signals, definitely starting to pick up a little bit in intensity as well. You're going to want to watch out for that as well. Then about 7 days out right here, you're watching this as well, looking at more of these ensembles. You're starting to see a couple with a little bit of power associated with that as well. These ensembles don't typically get very powerful until we get towards like the 15-day forecast, as we've seen with some of the other European runs we've been looking at. But by and large, this is a good starting point to watch and go, okay, we're looking at this right now. How exactly is this going to pan out, and how exactly is this going to affiliate with the future runs? So that's why we're kind of doing this right now. So so let's go ahead now and go to 8 days out as well. And looking at 8 days out, definitely noticing more ensemble runs, a few more with power associated to it, tropical storm strength, especially for quite a few of these. And then as you start to go to about 9 days out, a lot of these start moving a bit further to the west over here and potentially in the direction of the Lesser Antilles. Keep in mind, this is for the threat starting around September 3rd to September 9th, and that's what the European is picking up, and that's what kind of is affiliating with the Climate Prediction Center. We're not 100% sure, with at least with the ensemble runs we have right now, where the exact threat is for the 10th to the 15th. We just know for a fact that it's there, and the Climate Prediction Center is taking a very close eye on this. So that's what we have for you, and then going to 10 days out right here, definitely noticing a lot more ensembles starting to pick up on this quite a bit, although the spread on this is quite large, to be honest with you. You're having some ensembles moving it further to the northwest, some are moving it more so towards the west, potentially towards the Antilles, in a similar path to that of Hurricane Aaron once again. And then after that, we're still not 100% sure what will happen. We're going to want to watch out for this, though, but this is a kind of a key indicator that, hey, there's something out here. You're going to want to watch out for this. And we'll go ahead now and show you the 0Z runs to kind of see, okay, have they continued? And to some extent, they have. but they are a bit further up to the north, I've noticed. You're noticing a lot of the ensembles start further to the south right here, especially 6 days out, where they're a lot further to the south compared to the 12Z runs at this current point. But then as you go to a week out, at this current point, yeah, you are seeing more concentrated ensembles, not a lot of power associated with it, but there are quite a bit. Matter of fact, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 of the 30 ensemble spread of the European is really showing, hey, you're going to want to watch out for this. It may just be a wave for right now, but down the road, things might get a bit more interesting. And then going to 8 days out as well, noticing some more power associated with it, but the direction is more towards the northwest than to the west compared to the 12Z, where it kind of just, starts a bit further to the north and then jogs west. This is starting further to the south and then kind of moving more so towards the northwest, as you can see right here. But there is some ensembles affiliate that have power associated with it. We're going to want to watch and see how these troughs and ridges patterns generate as well. But by and large, the 0Z European is also showing some pretty significant developments down the road. Even a sub-1,000, 987, 1,004, 1,004, quite a few tropical storm strength systems affiliated with these ensemble runs that we're showing right here, and we're going to want to watch out for that as well. The operational runs are a bit iffy with this, I will say, but it's going to take time for them to catch up right here, and we can go ahead and show you this. Here is the 0Z European for today, having the system coming off the coast of Africa in the next 5 days or so, and then you have the system at least trying to get its act together. You do have the low pressure system tagged by the European over here in parts of the central MDR, but ultimately it takes its time to organize and develop, and I don't even think by the end of this run it ultimately does. That's pretty typical for ensemble and operational runs to do this. It takes time for the operational runs to catch up, and especially if we see the ensemble start really ramping up and screaming about development, like similar to what we had with Aaron, that's when the operational runs will definitely pick it up as well. But it's usually there's a bit of a delay with this. There's like 2 to 3 days worth of delay with this. I will say that right now. So we're going to want to watch out how this will pan out, especially as we get towards the weekend, just to see how this will pan out and go, okay, does this have a legitimate chance of developing right now, or is this going to be more of a long-term threat? Because that's kind of the general gist that we're looking at with this right now. So that's what you have going on with the European run right here. You do have the European, though, indicating some more potential development happening in the long term as well, and we will watch out for that as well. Showing you the GFS run, we'll go ahead and show you the 0Z GFS, and then I might pull up the 12Z just to see what's going on with that. Here's the 0Z GFS for you, really not showing that much happening in the main development region. That's a bit different from what the European is showing, but we will want to watch out and see how this will ultimately pan out. So the GFS really doesn't have that much happening in the next couple of weeks or so, but you're going to want to pay attention to it because other runs are picking up on it, and the GFS, depending on how this will ultimately pan out, could catch up on it as well. And the 12Z is a similar situation as well, but by and large, you're going to want to watch out still, especially because A, it's peak hurricane season, and B, the models the operational runs have a hard time catching up sometimes to the ensembles, and we'll want to watch out for that as well. Going to the Canadian run as well, here's what we have pulled up for you. CMC definitely is kind of interesting, I would say. They do have maybe something happening in the long run, but this does go out to about 10 days right here before we start seeing a closed low in parts of the central main development region. So you're going to want to keep an eye on this right here, but by and large, it's mostly quiet other than that. And then going for the Icon run right here, you're definitely going to want to watch this as well. Icon kind of is a bit weird with this. It has this initializing way further to the north than a lot of the other models do, which is not exactly the most ideal. It does have something happening initially, but the Icon wants this to remain an open wave, so we'll have to keep a very close eye on what's happening moving forward. But ultimately, this is just early September, and based on both the climatological and the the early indications we are seeing after Labor Day weekend, we're definitely going to see a lot more signals ramping up, both in the Western Atlantic and in the central, not the Central American Gyre, I just mentioned that, but ultimately in the main development region as well. And I can go ahead and show you what the European charts are going for as well. And this is what we have for you right here. Compared to what we saw a couple of days ago, the odds for MDR development for the first week of September have really started to turn up right here. We're looking at a 50 to 60% chance of tropical cyclone potential. Keep in mind, this is wind-derived, so that doesn't really tell the full story, obviously. But ultimately, you do have this kind of situation right here where you do have more to watch right here, especially as before we were thinking like 30 to 40 was good. Now we're looking at 50 to 60% across much of the region right here. So you're going to want to watch out for that as well. Matter of fact, from yesterday even, when we were looking at this, we were looking at only 40 to 50% in an isolated area. Now we're looking at a pretty concentrated area of 50 to 60% over here as well. Keep in mind, like I said, it's wind-derived. It doesn't take into account vorticity. It doesn't take into account a few other things as well, and it doesn't take into account organization, but you're still seeing those probabilities stacking up more and more. And that is something we're going to want to watch. But the second week of September is when things really start to open up across much of the Atlantic. Central American gyre starts to open up a bit more. The main development region opens up, still looking at 50 to 60% in that region as well. Then going to the third week of September, already these charts are going for a 60 to 70% chance of development in the main development region, and odds across the Atlantic, especially in the Gulf region, really start to ramp up and start to blossom quite a bit as well. And then going to the last week of September, you do have those probabilities decrease, but that's to be expected given this is like 3+ weeks out at this current point. But the things I find interesting are what the probabilities are with these runs at the week 1 of September and what week 3 of September is. The fact that they're so aggressive so far out right now, those are two factors that you're going to want to watch out for, especially for what's going to be happening. And things are going to be really interesting across much of September, and all the operational runs and all the climatological runs are indicating that as well. Briefly, we're going to go ahead and show you a few conditions and go over them once again, starting off with your sea surface temperatures. That's really a given. At this point, I've said this before earlier in the season, I will say it again. Water temperatures, not just in this point of September, but across all of hurricane season, is less of a factor and given and more of a constant. And what I mean by that is a constant is essentially something that doesn't change. The water temperatures being favorable hasn't changed. That's old news at this point, but what I do find interesting is just the spread of it this year and kind of what the runs are indicating with both the early ensembles and the operational, with basically development is not favored right away off the coast of Africa. Aaron was an exception, I will tell you that right now. But ultimately, it's favoring more of a situation where you have development starting off slow because of the cooler waters and then starting to ramp up very quickly as it approaches the Antilles and moves further and further and further and further to the west. So that is something you're going to want to watch out for over there. But ultimately, as you get towards the Gulf region and as you get to especially this northwestern Caribbean with the gyre starting to ramp up more, it's open season over there in terms of water temperature and ocean heat content. OHC continues to be very, very, very favorable for those regions as well. And in the main development region, eastern half of the MDR doesn't seem that impressive right now, especially compared to where we were last year. But what you're looking at is the western MDR is very impressive for tropical development in terms of the potential intensification and organization, as long as the shear does not become a big issue with that as well. And we'll talk more about shear and dry air in tomorrow's video. I just wanted to give the basics and give the rundown of what we're potentially looking at for much of September. And I hope I provided that with you. But ultimately, one last point I want to make is a situation where development doesn't start right away and then waits until it gets closer towards land is a concerning one for me. And I've said this for quite a while, because the less time you have from development to intensification to this potentially heading towards land, the less time people have to prepare, because it's just an open wave at first. People aren't really going to take it very seriously, even though in my opinion they should. And then by the time it starts to rapidly intensify, it's already very hairy for preparation. But that's why we're going to keep you updated here on the Pat's Path Richter channel. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Goal, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, Have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.